Hey everyone, your designers are here. I'm Anita at Cedar Hill Farmhouse.
And I'm Yvonne at Stone Gable.
And I'm Kelly at My Soulful Home.
We've got tips and tricks and decorating advice for you today, so let's get started.
This is episode 191. Kitchens Islands, how far they have come.
Oh, yes. And the show notes for today's episode can be found at decoratingtipsandtricks.com/191.
Yeah, so the kitchen island, when did that even start happening? And are you of the opinion that it's an essential part of the kitchen?
Mm-hmm.
Or are you of the opinion that the whole thing has gotten carried away with and it's turning from an island to sort of a continent? So we want to talk about how we're feeling about kitchen islands, how you can make them work the best for you if you have one, whether or not if you're considering renovating a kitchen, whether you want to put one in. So we're going to give you our thoughts and what our research has shown about kitchen islands. Yeah. So show of hands, who has a kitchen island?
Well, of course, both of us.
There's
do.
a lot. No, I'm not talking to you. I'm looking into the studio audience.
I'm sorry, I can't tell.
And it really is all about you, isn't it?
Oh, stop it.
If you're driving, keep your hands on the wheel. Just nod your head.
Just nod your head. I see you nodding. Okay, so I see a lot of hands up out there. And then I see a nice portion. I say about 25% of you don't have kitchen islands. Let's see. Okay, Anita's already spilled the beans that those two have kitchen islands.
I'm very pro island. Because I have the space.
It's like the sectional, pro-sectional,
I'm just saying.
anti-sectional.
Yep. Loving everybody, but I'm pro-sectional.
So have you seen, do you remember recently, there's been an article circulating on Facebook, and I can't remember what magazine it is, but basically the gist of it is so-and-so put in an island, and basically it was the worst day of her life, and she will never do that again. And it's about, I don't know, somebody who hates islands, but it's just every couple of days I go on to Facebook and there's that article again. It's very interesting.
Is that the Wall Street Journal article by Michelle Slatalia?
Well, it is possible.
Yes, because Michelle used to write for Gardenista, and I was a big fan of hers there. And now she's got a column in the Wall Street Journal, and she has some interesting things to say. And I have to say, if I'm going to be on a team, I mean, of course, I am on your team. We are Team DTT. But but if I had to, have a different team, I think Michelle would be a pretty cool person to be on my team. And so I am on her not so into the islands team. So I could tell you now that Anita brought that up, that's really interesting because I found that article and I was like, Michelle, not that I know her personally. I'm making it sound like I do, but I've read her so much in Gardenista. I felt like I did.
Well, can I be kind of, it depends rather than
let me tell you, but let me tell you what she says.
Sure.
There's a little quote that I pulled out of the article. So now clearly she's in the anti-island section.
Right.
And she's saying, which I thought was really kind of funny, 1,000 years from now, archaeologists will be sifting through the rubble and will be able to identify 21st century homes by their kitchen islands. The kitchen island will be as recognizable as an artifact as the Doric column.
Yeah. See how iconic it is?
Yes, but she's saying it a bad way.
I know. I'm just flipping it. Here's what I say. If it works for you, great. If it doesn't, great. We've owned 3 homes. 1 did not have an island and 2 did. And we built we built 2 houses, but I built the third one because I really built the kitchen around the island, because if the kitchen is the heart of my home, the island is its heartbeat. And everybody, if I have a party or if I have a family gathering, I've got to nudge my way through everybody being around the island to do any cooking or prep work, because everybody just gravitates to my island. Okay. And I think that's why I love it so much, because I have such great memories around it.
Okay, but that can be achieved with a table as well. That it doesn't have to be an island.
But if it's a short table, you're going to hurt your back. I don't know that that's if you're doing any work at the island. it really needs to be the right height. I'm not pro or against necessarily. I think it really has to go with your house. And if you have an open concept, I think it makes a lot of sense. But if you don't have an open concept, I think a lot of these kitchens that aren't open concept, they're too small for an island. And when somebody forces it in there, I think, it's too tight. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, so that's bad news. That is definitely bad news.
Right.
It's got to work for you.
It really does depend on the setting. And here's the thing. Now, mine's a little bit on the large size, not as big as some of the ones that you're talking about, but I sew a lot. And it's the only place in my house that I can actually stretch the fabric out, and it's more than 54. The fabric's 54 inches wide.
You are so right.
That's where I spread it out to cut it. Of course, I have to make sure it's been cleaned off and everything, but I use that every day, all day. I do all my prep on the island rather than by the stove, and I like it because I can face the rest of the house, and then also we have counter stools on it. So I love the island, and I've only had a kitchen island now for 5 years. So before that, we just had a teeny tiny one we put in our other house, but I'm sold on them for me. They work in your home. Yeah, they do.
They serve a purpose and they work well. And I just really think that is absolutely the key right there.
Well, and with 3 of us cooking, it's really enough room for all of us to kind of have a station in the kitchen where each of us have, we can have somebody chopping, somebody grilling and whatever. And so, I think it really does depend on your family and how you use the kitchen. And mostly I would say on the layout of your actual kitchen.
Mm-hmm. I absolutely agree.
Agreed on all of that. If it works for you and if it works in your kitchen and it's functional and use it. But what I think myself, and dare I say Michelle as well, are saying is these islands that have become out of control, or people feel like they have to have an island, like it is just, it's written down somewhere that you have to have an island in your house, and they're squishing it in even if it doesn't work, or they kind of came into being in conjunction with the McMansion expansion thing, right? So your house was gigantic. Now, we're trending towards smaller homes. All those charming, go tiny things are happening. So that trend is changing. But with the mega mansion became, why not make the island as big as an ice skating rink? Just bigger is better. But bigger is not necessarily better.
Yeah, I think the islands really came into, I guess what you're saying with the McMansions, but also I think they came into fashion with the open concept house. I'll tell you the thing that I'm seeing that's kind of a bit much, and it's what you're talking about. Have you been seeing all the houses with 2 islands?
I actually have seen one with 2.
I see them all over the place. And now you basically have no room. Now your house is going to be a 1-bedroom because you have no room for any other bedrooms because your kitchen is the size of your entire downstairs. So, that seems, it just depends. If somebody's a big cook, I know people that own restaurants and they've got 2 islands and that kind of makes sense. But
okay, but let me tell you.
Yeah.
The other person I'm going to put on my team? Me, Michelle, and Julia Child. I would consider her a big cook. Woman had no island.
Have you seen her kitchen? It was teeny tiny.
Island. I know. I love that.
However, here I'm going to pull sort of the history card. People long ago didn't have countertops. And what did they have? They had a kitchen table that they used like an island. It was multi-purpose. They used it for eating. We use islands for eating. They use it for prep. We use it for prep. They use it for let's sit around and do our homework. That's what they use their kitchen table for. So their kitchen table was in essence a kitchen table / the same thing we use an island for today. And although it would kill my back, I'm tall.
That's what I was going to say.
So we put our island on bun feet. So it looks like it's a piece of furniture. And the main reason is because it was a little low, and because I'm tall, it hurt my back when I would prep. But years and years and eons and like out in the prairie ago, they had shelving and maybe one little cupboard, but they didn't have countertop. So their table was a workspace. And that's really the development, I think, of the kitchen island. I think it happened a long, long time ago. And as people had bigger kitchens, in came the countertops for use. And then as the kitchens got even bigger, in comes the island because it's so multifunctional.
Right. And I agree with you when the island functions like a table would and you're using it for the prep and things like that. It's when the island gets out of control. And as I said earlier, it becomes sort of a continent and it becomes sort of a blight on your kitchen, right? Rather than a useful space. Fine. I like the human scale of a table. I just feels right to me. Mrs. Patmore, me, Julia, we like the table thing, but I think the evolution of the kitchen island has just gone too far and we need to scale it back. And
You're so cute.
I like having the, the openness of my table with just the legs. And I like having the marble matching the counter. So it's not just like this giant glunk in the middle of my kitchen, which I have space for an island, but I just was not something that I wanted.
And your kitchen is so charming because of that. I mean, it's so
totally
unique.
respect, the island dwellers. And I think that that's great if it works for you. What I'm saying is to our listeners is be cautious of buying a house with a gigantic island, putting in a gigantic island. Don't feel the pressure of having a gigantic island because it may not function like it should in the kitchen. A kitchen needs, first and foremost, to be a very functional space. And so you need to be very aware of the square footage, right? So like the starting depth of an island is around 24 inches, which is like the dimensions of base cabinets. And then it goes up from there. But you need clearance, right? So you need at least 36 to 42 inches of clearance on all sides, or you're going to feel like you're dancing around that island, or you need to go up and over it.
And really, that's an absolute must, those numbers. There's something else that you need to be aware of. There's a triangle. It should be a triangle in your kitchen, in an efficient kitchen, sink, dishwasher, or stove, sink, dishwasher, and refrigerator. And it should make sort of a triangle. You don't want to put your refrigerator on the opposing side of your island you have to walk around one way or the other. That's just not that efficient. So you want to make sure that you have your sink with your dishwasher, your cooktop at least, and your refrigerator, sort of making an island. I mean, sort of making a triangle that's not really in the way of your island. And you've got to have enough room to do that so it feels comfortable.
Yeah. And, the other thing I've seen done beautifully, and these tend to be more human scale sizes, is to buy an island, a piece of furniture to use as an island that is movable. So let's say you buy it and then at some point, maybe you become a Kelly and you go, I hate having an island. Well, then you just sell it and move it on out and then you're not stuck with it. So,
right.
That's the other way. I
adore that idea. I love really that idea.
Don't you just love a great recommendation from a friend? Well, we're delighted to be recommending these companies and their wonderful products to you today. And let them know your friends at DTT sent you. Go ahead, clean out your closet. Then head straight to Quince. I love every item Quince offers, from wardrobe to decor. And I can really recommend their Ultra Stretch Super Wide Leg Pant at $49.90. The price is unbeatable and the look is so flattering. It keeps you in on top and flares out of the bottom. Everything feels right with Quince. The price, the quality, and the sustainability. Quince offers a range of luxury wardrobe and home goods at prices within reach. And like Quince's clothing, their home goods are priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. Quince only works with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices, along with premium fabrics and finishes. Once you've cleaned out your closet and refreshed with Quince, you can also add something to your home decor. So give your wardrobe and your home the refresh it needs with Quince. Go to quince.com/DTT to get free shipping and 365-day returns on your next order. That's Quince, QUINCE.com/DTT for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/DTT. And let me know how you love those pants. Inevitably, with the new year come wellness goals. One very effective and easy to reach goal is to add Dose to your wellness regime. Dose is expertly formulated organic wellness shots that support your liver in one delicious drink. Formulated with ingredients clinically shown to support liver health. Potent turmeric, milk thistle, and ginger. There's 0 sugar and 0 calories. Did you know that your liver performs over 500 special functions? Since I learned all that my liver is doing, I started with Dose to support all those vital functions. I take a shot of refreshing Dose 2 times per week to combat everyday toxins from food, meds, alcohol, and unhealthy air. Since starting with Dose about a month ago, I am definitely feeling an overall improvement in my health. So if you want to give Dose a shot and invest in your health like I have, Dose is offering DTT listeners 15% off your first order, plus an additional 15% off if you subscribe for a monthly delivery. That's 30% off your first order. So go to dosedaily.co/DTT and use the code DTT. That's dosedaily.co.co/DTT and use the code DTT.
And I think in our next house, if we have a next house, God willing, I'm going to put in something that I can move, because I even love the idea of cooking in it and then maybe even putting it in a different position, like to serve. So I've got my cook space all to myself, almost like a gate in front of my kitchen. Okay, don't come in the kitchen, but here's all the things you can eat, and I'm going to put it out and serve. And I love that idea. And there's some wonderful bloggers have some great utility carts or different things they've turned into islands.
Yeah, I've seen some beautiful ones with shelves underneath. And of course, then, you have to be careful. Does it look decorative, or do you have some, ugly looking scuffed up bent pans down there? So,
And here's the thing. Because you have to be very careful about the island you choose, the material, how it looks. There's so many different ways you can configure an island, and so many colors you can paint it, or stains you can put on it, and countertops you can put on it. But the island in modern kitchens have become the focal point, where years past it's always been like the hood, your kitchen stove hood has become, it used to be very utilitarian, then it's become very decorative because that was a focal point. But now really kitchen islands and what you put on them are now the focal point of the kitchen.
Well, yeah, it blocks the view and it used to be, I would agree, the stove and the vent hood over it, but now you can't really see the stove. It's usually hidden by the island. So that's really taken over as the focal point, I think, a lot of times.
But let's sing the praises of an island for just a minute. And especially if it's one that is sized correctly and you have enough room to get around and it's beautiful and it just adds beauty and value to your kitchen. I mean, you can have a sink on your island. You can have a cooktop on your island. You can have an oven in your island, or a microwave in your island. You can have drawer refrigerators. I wish I would have done that. I really love that idea.
Yeah, well, if you don't want the microwave over the stove, we've hidden our microwave in the island. So that's certainly, like you said, something you can do. You can do those refrigerator drawers, but I love using it for cooking on. So yeah, I think it just kind of depends on how you want to use it. But again, we cook a lot as a family. And so if we didn't have the island, we wouldn't have as much workspace. But also the thing I like about the island is we're kind of all facing toward each other rather than when you're all facing the stove. It feels like we're facing away from each other at the countertop. But if we're at the island, I feel like we're facing each other.
That's a really nice point, Anita. I like that idea, especially the way that your house is set up.
Your house is configured that way.
Yeah, so that's a really, I would think that would be my number one.
That sold her almost.
No, I don't want one.
Not really, but
that would be, that that would definitely be in the pro column for the island. And again, you wanted to have some, scale to the room, but also a human scale. I mean, I am not a tall person. And so I wouldn't want to have a giant island and feel like, oh, my daughter's all the way over there making cookies. So I wanted to feel like we're interacting. And the sense, I've never been in your home. I feel like I have, but, by seeing all the pictures. So I could see how that would work.
I also think another reason that why we have an island, obviously it's extra seating and it's just that gathering time. And I mean, when we gather around that, and that's, while I'm cooking, and we have sort of an open concept in the back of our house, but still I don't want to be away from everybody. And it just seems like everybody gathers there while I cook and people chop and we share, and that whole sharing time. I just love that. But also from a practical standpoint, I have drawers and cabinets in my island on the one side, and I use them tremendously. I have everything sort of like, sort of at my fingertips. I have all my cooking things there because I definitely prep on there. And I have containers like for leftovers and things there because all of the food comes back to the island before it goes over to the sink. So, if we've got leftovers, I have everything I need right there. And it's just a wonderful place to be. And again, after dinner, people seem to come back and want to talk, and that's a great gathering spot.
We want to share with you some specific tips about either, creating an island, even me, see how open I am, open
you
concept,
are.
Open Kelly. I'm open to it. I just want to share what I know,
She's
what
just
I've learned.
pretending.
I'm not living. I mean, I have had an island. I had a kitchen in Port Washington, New York, and
you didn't like it?
No, I liked it there. It kind of worked, but I didn't really think about it. It was like, this is what I'm saying. I was like, I'm making a new kitchen. I tore out this kitchen. We took out a bathroom that was next to it. So I had a big open space. And I was like, well, of course I'm putting in an island.
Because you're supposed to have one, right? Without thinking about it. Mm-hmm.
So basically what I'm saying to people is it's okay if you don't want to have an island, or if you think an island's not going to work, or if you have one and you don't like it, it's okay. You can email me privately and we can talk about it.
And you can talk about your island behind its back.
Right? Because roll it out of there. So here are some things that I have discussed with clients of mine and, brought to their attention that I want to bring to everybody's attention who's listening. Okay. So as I mentioned, you want to take into consideration the square footage of your kitchen and how much space you have to work with, whether existing or you're renovating. Okay. And then you want to make sure that especially if your cabinets aren't in yet, that you're measuring out the depth of your cabinetry. Then you're measuring it 36 to 42 inches. And that's also for handicap, God forbid, like Yvonne's saying, like all of a sudden you hurt your foot and you're in a wheelchair and you can't get through your kitchen because of the dang islands in the way, right? So you want to make sure that you got 36 inches to 42 inches clearance all around it on all four sides. Then something people might not consider is if you want to have seating at your island, okay, you got to start looking at your counter stools or your bar stools. Are they going to be upholstered? Are they going to be simple rounds? How wide are they? You don't want people like having to lock arms to sit together at your island, or somebody's eating their cereal and somebody's elbow goes up somebody else's nose. You need to have space for the seats and space in between. Mm-hmm. So that will help you decide if it's going to be a rectangle.
But that's an argument for a bigger island.
Well, I know, or less seats. I'm sorry, Johnny. It's not your turn to sit at the island today. Your sister gets to sit there today. We can only fit 3 seats, or we can only fit 2 seats, or maybe you don't do seats, something like that. So those are just things to consider. And if you have a giant family and you need a giant island, or I don't have a giant family, then, God bless you. Just make sure you have enough room for the seats that you want to pick. You don't want to set your island in stone and have the guy or whoever create the island, and then you pick out these counter stools that you love and they don't fit.
Well, and that's an interesting thing that you bring up, the counter stools. I think that's an excellent point to talk about too, is whether you do the backless ones or the ones with a back. I am all comfort. So at our island, we did the stools with the backs, and they're very, very comfortable. They're cushioned. They're fabric.
They're beautiful.
Oh, thanks. And it's it's an indoor outdoor fabric, so it really holds up really well to stains and everything. But now we also have a peninsula. It's not an island, it's a peninsula where the sink is that faces the window. And over there, I really didn't want the distraction. I wanted to just sneak some in where you can't really see them. So over there, I did the stools that just tuck under and you don't even know they're there. So, I think about the visual weight of the backs. Is that going to be distracting? Do you really want to see those? Or if you don't have them, is that going to be a problem for your own comfort? So
Anita,
that's that
too. I would love the ones with the back, but I have the ones that tuck under because, well, two things. The visual weight would be way too heavy. And I've got big pantry doors on the other side. Yeah. And I just think that would be just too much stuff in that one area. But, we could do a whole episode on island chairs because there's so many things to think about. Where are you going to put your feet? You need a place that your feet can tuck under and rest upon if you pull yourself out from the island. So there's just a ton of things to think about when you think of your options are so vast.
Right. And that does, like you said, have to do with how tight the space is. If it feels visually, if it's not a big space, that can really make the room feel closed in.
Oh, absolutely. Especially going back to what Kelly said, that may not give you the leeway that you need all around your room as far as like how many inches do you need for things to comfortably fit in.
Right. Good point. Because then not only do you have to think about the end of the island, if you're adding then counter stools or stools with backs, then you have to figure in, okay, how far are they going to jut out? How far out are people going to sit? Right. And then, work around that.
Sure.
Yeah. But to be honest, if I were designing a new house, I would put an island in.
Me too. Styling. Let's talk about a little bit what I've been
didn't
seeing.
Get to say not me. Not me.
Oh, okay. No,
yeah, we know your stand.
I love that kitchen islands. Like my kitchen is white. My island is white. It matches. I have my upper cabinets and lower cabinets are designed a little differently. It matches my lower cabinets. And it looks sort of like a piece of furniture because it's on feet. But it's the same color. I really like that, the islands that are just a little bit different and that look very furniture-ish. So if I were redoing a house, that would be something that if I were putting an island in, I think that would be top on my list to make it look more like a piece of furniture that came in than something that matched the whole kitchen.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty look is having it a different color. But the matching color again, that works too. I mean, I think
but your island I love because it really delineates your kitchen space because it's open. If I were doing if I'd have to probably do a U-shaped kitchen to put a different color island in if it was an open space, because if it wasn't, you do need something to delineate it, and yours does.
Yeah, thanks. Well, and then the other thing is if you're wanting, because this happens when I work with clients, they want the color on the cabinets, and I kind of shy away from doing that because it's such a bugaboo to paint them yourself, or it's expensive to pay someone else when you tire of the color. So if you're going to put a color in, I really recommend more so doing I would do the island before I did the cabinets any day.
Yeah, as the pop. Something that is really charming is if you can find two vintage dressers, same exact dressers, and you put them back to back, you can create an island, and then you just cap it with your marble or your granite or whatever.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
And then, it can be very inexpensive if you don't retrofit and you don't try to put a sink in or anything like that. So you basically have got usually maybe with the height, maybe 3 nice big drawers on either side.
Wow.
Great kinds of drawers for pots and pans because they're usually kind of deep. So I think you can all sort of visualize the type of dresser I'm talking about. Like almost like even those ones with the one that comes to mind that you could there are a dime a dozen at thrift stores. It's like with the kind of the colonial-ish hardware, that kind. Yeah. And they're very squared off and rectangle shaped. And if you choose the match, put them back to back, get a piece of granite, marble, stone, quartzite, whatever you want, cut,
paint them.
Paint them or just make them chippy Green Chef is a delicious delight any time of year, but especially during the holidays. What a wonderful vision to behold as the Green Chef boxes on your doorstep. Green Chef is the #1 meal kit for eating well. And it makes eating well so easy with plans to fit every lifestyle, whether you're keto, paleo, vegan, vegetarian, gluten-free, or just looking to eat a more balanced diet. So let Green Chef take the work out of eating clean this holiday season. And if you've got guests coming, shop Green Bundles. They're now available at the Green Market. It's your one-stop shop for nutritious grab-and-go breakfasts, including vegan options, brunch kits, wholesome lunches, ready-to-eat snacks, veggie sides, and more. You can feel your best this December and do your best with Green Chef because they offset 100% of the delivery emissions as well as 100% of the plastic in every box. Go to greenchef.com/60DTT and use the code 60DTT and get 60% off plus 20% off your next 2 months. greenchef.com/60DTT and use the code 60DTT to get 60% off plus 20% off your next 2 months. Pesto pork chops over Parmesan polenta. Not that easy to say, but oh so easy to make with Green Chef. Green Chef is the #1 meal kit company for eating well, and we have such a great deal for you. You're going to save $250. Listen on for the details on that. Green Chef makes eating well easy for any lifestyle, whether you're keto, paleo, vegan, vegetarian, gluten-free, or just looking to eat more balanced meals. You know, we're getting into the busy holiday season, so it's a perfect time to have Green Chef help you out. Let Green Chef take the work out of eating clean this holiday season with their chef-crafted, nutritionist-approved recipes featuring fresh ingredients and nothing artificial. And you know what? You don't have to lose track of your healthy eating habits during the holidays. Every Green Chef customer gets a free session with their registered dietitians who will walk you through how to make clean eating work for you. So sign up for your free session and start on the road towards better health today. And that deal I want to tell you about, visit greenchef.com/DTT250 and use the code DTT250 for $250 off your order. So that's greenchef.com/DTT250 and use the code DTT250 for $250 off your order.
You know, that what a great vintage look that would be. If somebody likes the more of a vintage look of a kitchen, oh, that'd be beautiful.
Right. And so then, you know, unless you did an overhang, which would then sort of compromise the drawers on one side, unless you really probably couldn't pull up a stool or something to the to those. And they would
do it on the side.
You could put something on the side. Yeah, overlap on the side. But that would be more of like a prep area. It's kind of like a half breed. It's not a table. It's not an island.
So
it's
cool.
You know, it's something else.
Right. But be careful. If you do that, really take into account that height, because I think what Yvonne said is really, really critical. If you have something the wrong height and you're working there, it can really strain your back and cause some back issues. So we really want you to stay healthy and to feel good. So make sure it's not too short for you or too tall. So really check that height before you get locked in on that.
Right. And good point. Excellent point. And you could, if you need to boost the height, you could put them on casters, which would also give you that option of rolling it out if you wanted to get out of the way, if you were having a party or a dance party or something in your kitchen. Or, you know, put the bun feet, like Yvonne said, something. Or if it's too tall, you could just have them cut down. Just make sure, you know, it's even.
Oh, yes. Yes. There's so many different options. I just think that if you're going to choose a kitchen island, make sure it works for your family and you. Make sure that there's no dead space. I mean, if you've got that big box, you can do a lot with it, you know, shelves and drawers and cabinets and like, microwaves or, there's so many things that you can do with it that you just don't want to, that's prime real estate. So you don't want to waste that. And you just want to be real creative. I wish at the one end of our island, we would have built some shelves in so I could have put my cookbooks in there.
Oh, do either of you have an additional prep sink in your island?
I have nothing. Mine is just a slab. I don't have a sink or a cooktop in my island.
Yeah,
Anita?
I've got a little sink.
Oh, you have a prep sink.
Oh
in
my
yours.
goodness. And it's wonderful because that's what we,
Okay.
yes, because sometimes one of us, I'm telling you, we really love cooking together. So one person may be doing some dishes in the sink and the other one can, in the vegetable sink, it's right over there by the refrigerator. So that's where we wash the fruit and vegetables.
Oh, how
and
smart.
So then you can have two people working at the sink, someone else at the stove.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, if you want to cook, come on over.
Right. And that's so great. And that you, and I know you really do use it. I mean, I speak to you on the phone sometimes when, a lot of times because of the time difference, I'm talking to you when you're prepping meals or something like that. And I know Kevin's in there and Evie's in there and Elisa's in there. So stuff is going on. So that is so great because you use it. But again, for people who don't live like that or cook like that or have a family that's interested in cooking with them, really don't knee jerk, I have to have a prep sink. Because I know, even though I knew I wouldn't really use it when I was doing the kitchen here, I was like, well, that's a really cute faucet. I guess I should get a prep sink to go under that. And I could have that over on the other side. And when I was configuring it all. So I guess what I'm thinking.
Did you do it?
No, because it really wouldn't work for me. I did the really big farmhouse sink because people come in. If I can get somebody to help me set the table, which is like really, really hard, that's like a really hard task, but if I can convince somebody that I need help doing that, every once in a while, Laura and I will cook together, but it's usually just the two of us. And it's like something special. We're making cupcakes or we're doing something like that. But cooking a regular basis in our house is not a collaborative effort. So it really wouldn't have made sense to me. I knew I would just have a sink over there that I probably would have never used. But so I applaud you for having it and using it and making that part of what your family does together. But if people don't live like that, don't feel like you need to have all of that.
Well, I have a friend who has the most beautiful kitchen. She doesn't cook. Yeah. They go out so much. Right. So she doesn't have an island. She doesn't need an island. And her house is large enough elsewhere that she can entertain. If you don't use your kitchen, you have to use your kitchen for very basic things. But if you don't use your kitchen and don't like to cook and don't entertain a lot, an island, you're going like, unless I store things in it, how would you use it?
Right.
Yeah, but you do have to be careful again with that large island because sometimes that is the dumping spot for books and backpacks and mail. So that kind of drives me nuts. So I try to keep it clean.
That was my favorite thing when my kids were growing up. They would do their homework while I cooked. Oh. And I think that's why I love it so much because it just seems like it's that heartbeat that when I think of my home, I have such great memories of us all being around doing things. And whether you have an island or not, we hope that you make wonderful memories in your home too. And, we'd love to see, we'd love you to email us and tell us how you use your island because maybe there's things that we haven't thought of that you have. Remember, we're here to inspire you to create a beautiful home. Until next time.
Hey, everybody. We want to thank you so much for listening to Decorating Tips and Tricks. And we want to make it even easier for you to listen. And it's easier if you subscribe. You just click the subscribe button on our website, www.decoratingtipsandtricks.com, or you can subscribe through Apple Podcast or any of your favorite podcast listeners. When you subscribe, DTT comes free right to you 3 days a week. So until next time.